Welcome to a special edition of the Titan Protection Show. We are here in the SiriusXM Studio in the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas, and it is ISC West 2026. We are doing a special series blending security, physical security with technology, and we've got a great lineup of speakers. We're talking AI, we're talking software, and of course drones. Have some great speakers from different manufacturers that are coming and talking about how these things are blending with physical security. It's an exciting time. This show traditionally has been integrators. I've been coming to it for 15 plus years, and it's exciting to see how it's changing and how it's morphing into integrators, physical security directors, folks that traditionally weren't attending on the technology side. We're seeing these worlds collide together. We're tackling it from a couple different angles, and you will hear some insights from the industry leaders who are down deep in it. Hope you enjoy the show. Exciting series coming, and look forward to it. Welcome to a special edition of the Titan Protection Show. We are here in the SiriusXM Studio in the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas, and it is ISC West. We are doing a special series talking about physical security and technology blending together, and honored to be here with Jeff DiDomenico, VP of Strategic Development, and Albert Stepanian, CEO of Scylla. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Excited to chat with you today.
Totally my pleasure. I'm really excited to be here.
Appreciate
Thanks for having me here.
You got it.
Yep.
Jeff, you and I for years have talked about this blend of security and technology, so I'm excited and interested to kind of catch others up on kind of our cup of coffee conversations that we've had over the years. Mm-hmm. We're seeing a big change with this show where we're seeing a lot of the security guarding companies and different folks coming to this show. What have you seen over the years, or what are you seeing in this industry specifically as we're getting into this new world?
Yeah, the industry thankfully has a lot of connected tissue, as most of it is law enforcement, military. So there's less secrecy about this is how I bake the cake.
Right.
So we start in a really good place in terms of knowledge sharing and partnerships and understanding best practices. But this year in particular, and last year as well, we've seen a significant increase in our customers' reaction to technology. I think a lot of people got a little resting on their laurels. Mm-hmm. They could grow at that double-digit organic man-guarding business and do so with similar regularity and without having any real price degradation. But at some point you wake up and you realize if you want to be in this business, you're going to have to move and move quickly. So I think this is the third year that is going to be the move quickly year.
Yes. We've talked a lot personally about the billable hour in the security industry and some of the things that may be a little bit archaic. And just for the audience purposes, you come at this from a software perspective. Trackforce is a guard management software. It's one that we use.
Right.
Talk a little bit about what Trackforce does and how you're seeing these trends kind of translate with the customers. What questions are they asking? What are you seeing that's different?
Yeah, I think we always have the stable, what I would call the table stakes of our industry, right? Which is the non-billable overtime, the turnover, reducing back office labor, recruiting issues, things. Those will never go away. They're kind of the milestones. But in reality, those are now table stakes. Mm-hmm. So we need to play in that place, and we do, obviously. But the real place now is the pivot, which is what happens now when the man guarding hours start to be declined and substituted for drone hours, robot hours, access control, et cetera, if you will, the true managed services.
Right.
So that's putting a different spin on the way you run your financials.
Right.
Because in the old days, if you will, you didn't even need a financial package. You can do on the back of a napkin, right? Guard hours, add in your taxes and your insurance and uniforms, and you can pretty much come up with a real-time profit and loss.
Right.
But it is now putting a lot of opportunity on the front end, which is what do we do to bring the back office and the SOCs and all of the intelligence and additional technology out in the field, right, and make it actionable. So that's exciting for us. And that's why main reason why we're here this year.
Well, and we've seen that. That's a great point, because we're seeing that too, where that billable hour, there's a lot of waste in that, but that also has become so commoditized that it's like, how cheap can we pay somebody? How cheap can we bill? And I think we're stepping back and saying, how do we use these technology pieces and have better quality folks in the security side. So it's interesting to see that happen.
Absolutely.
Albert, appreciate you joining us as well. Definitely interested in digging into the AI side of things. Tell us a little bit about Scylla.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me here, Rand. So at Scylla, we build an AI which pretty much watches for actions, behaviors, and objects, right? And we are specialized in this. So traditionally, we have been in the computer vision industry for the last 7 years, I would say. But recently, like we see more and more customers, and the whole industry is pretty much talking only about AI. So we are riding the wave now, similar to other companies, right? But where we are kind of standing apart, that we have this hypothesis that we should build everything in-house. The data should be proprietary. The technology should be the best in the world, right? And also, like, we need to start thinking about how we move more reasoning into the operator's life. And we kind of want to empower them instead of replace them, because many people are talking, how do we replace the operators? How do we replace the man guards? But we really believe that this is like a hybrid mix where you have to empower the people watching the cameras, right? So you have to make sure that the alarms are smart, they are few, and they are meaningful. But also how you escalate, how you give the reasoning, how you give the context, and then pass to the platforms like Trackforce to the dispatch shorter, but also more meaningful.
Yeah. It's so interesting because when I started Titan, my main value proposition or the business model that we thought we were going after was, we've got all these cameras out. Why can't we let the cameras tell us when there's something we need action for and then send the security officer to that, kind of that wasted billable hour we're talking about? And at the time, that was, mid 2005, somewhere in that neighborhood. Video analytics had come out and really disappointed the market. It kind of overpromised, underdelivered, false alarms were very high. And it's incredible to see how these have progressed because, video analytics tended to learn a scene, had to sit there for a little while. And now we're seeing this work on drones, moving scenes, and all sorts of different things. It used to be kind of people detection. We're seeing this kind of morph into a lot of things, gun detection, facial recognition. Where have you seen this kind of morph over the years, and where are you seeing a lot of opportunity and demand coming from customers?
So we definitely see that the drones are becoming like the next big thing, right? Because like of the shortage of the talent, like overall, like it's very difficult to hire and retain talent. And we see this from both the enterprises and the corporates. That's where our sweet spot is, but also partnering with Trackforce for the guarding side. Like many people, and specifically the decision makers have a tough time finding talent and also retaining them. So they're looking for ways how to move as you say, the billable hours to remote guarding, but also enable the drones, and not only how to use the technology on top of the body cams. And to your point, it's actually was part of our success. There were a lot of players which overpromised and underdelivered. And we jumped into this industry completely out of security because we're traditional technology specialists coming from corporates. And then we understood there's not a lot of good technology in the security. It's a very old school market. Many people have military backgrounds. They're trying to do their best and it's mission critical. But the technology is not there. So for Scylla, it was kind of it was like a fresh breath of air that there's a big market, the technology is not there yet. And if you bring something really meaningful and useful, and that works from day one instead of learning on anomalies, learning from the scene. We both understand, we went through this, right? So you really can make the customers feeling different and also empowering the remote guarding and again, both on the enterprises, but also on the third party, right? And this is now coming to the guarding space as well, which is traditionally very slow movers, right? So not everybody's like yourself, which is using drones from day one.
Right.
And so AI is kind of now everybody's talking about the AI, but I really don't believe that many players will be able to deliver a good AI solution and rather than just riding the wave.
Yeah. It very interesting, from a couple different perspectives. And you touched on this earlier, where is it full autonomy? Where do the people come into play there? And I think there's a big discussion to be had there because we're seeing that with AI and technology in general I think a lot of folks look at it as an either or we're going to replace the human this year. Me personally, I feel like we're skipping over the bionic phase of man and machine. And I think that's where we'll be now for, I think you could argue about what duration with that piece. But how are y'all seeing that as far as the hybrid solution? Are you seeing this more as an either or? Where are you seeing?
So I have my own personal belief, right? And I also see this happening in the enterprises that the hybrid is the way to go. And first of all, I don't believe in the autonomy. We have the best PhD people working for Scylla. And everything AI related has limitations, especially when you get to the reasoning, right? Because like we're now transitioning from the detection to action based on reasoning and the agentic AI. So yeah, agents like are working well, but I wouldn't trust them like life and safety critical situations. Like they shouldn't do the end decision, because if you are from like the AI industry and then you work with these models, like even the best models on the market, they hallucinate.
Yep.
So you can have the best detection software that will detect a weapon intrusion phase, and it's working like almost 100%. But the decision making should not be trusted to the agent. Agent should do the empowering, should escalate, should decide on the severity level, check with the SOPs. People should not read the SOPs. Like the AI can do that very well. But the end decision-making button, dispatch a drone or hit the target or respond to the situation should be done by the human. So I really don't believe, first of all, the technology is there or will be there like within the next 5 or 10 years at least. And second, it's not ethical. And third, I don't see this happening in the big enterprises, right? Just because like I wouldn't trust the company. If I'm a like customer like of a large enterprise for insurance or banking, I wouldn't trust my money to that like industry if the whole decision is done by the agent.
Right. We were talking about this yesterday. Yeah. It seems like AI at this point is like a really smart 16-year-old. They'll wow you, but then in the other hand, they'll also disappoint you and kind of, so don't think it can be left unsupervised, but we're seeing the same thing as well.
Yeah, I think it was Bill Gates stole it, but it was a guy, Roy Amara, that wrote, we tend to overestimate technology in the short run, right, and underestimate it in the long run. And I think that's exactly where we are with AI.
Right.
And I look at this week's disaster at LaGuardia Airport as a really good example.
Yeah.
We got to hear live, right, what that operator had to experience.
Right.
And you wonder how technology would have changed that. Every time we have one of those disasters, and it's really interesting, we've had 2 drone disasters, right, of great magnitude. And I thought those were the pivot moments.
Right.
I thought that's it. Right? We're always looking for the tripwire. Right. We were talking, Albert, before about the Colonial Pipeline, right? As cyber and physical came together. That was the moment in time when someone said, I can't just point down the hallway. Right. It's actually one.
Right.
And so I think you're right. I think your observation and your boots on the ground, so you know this to be true, use cases will start to bear out. Yes. That this combination of man and machine could be longer than we'd like it to be. When I say like it, we love a magic wand, right? Sure. And we'd love to just wake up and think that it's all fixed. The reality is it's going to be this tight combination of how we bring the technology and along bring the people.
Right.
And I think it'll be great for the industry.
Yeah.
As we turn this into professions, right?
Well, and that's let's use the technology as the detection layer, find the needle in the haystack, raise that to the human, and then let them kind of work with that piece as well. If you are, attending the show, if somebody's out there, they're a security director, there's somebody within there, and they're just getting started in this. They're starting to figure out, okay, how do we use these cameras to detect different things? How do we software layers? What's a good place to get started? What use cases are you seeing this play out in? Jeff, love to hear from you, and Albert certainly as well. Yeah,
I think this is one of the challenging opportunities now, right? There's a lot of technology. It's all in the cloud. It used to be you would DQ yourself, right? Because I can't afford that. I can't build a SOC for $1 million.
Right.
Now you don't have to.
Right.
So it's actually become more complicated. But I think if I were starting out today, and I know this because of our clients like yourselves that have been out there 5, 7, 9 years playing in this playing in the managed services, right? The other portion, you all of a sudden wake up and you got 8 or 9 pieces of software and they don't even talk to one another.
Yes.
Now you can't beat yourself up because the time at which you made that decision, some technology wasn't available, you were satisfying a customer demand, you had a revenue opportunity. I think you have to start with the end in mind here. I think you have to start with what you've experienced with me with MX and the kind of one pane of glass story.
Right.
What do I do once I deploy all this technology? What does all this data look like and how does it become actionable and what do I do with it?
Right.
So my recommendation would be to start maybe in the SOC area and start to evaluate it from the back end in.
Yeah.
And then do what, of course, you've done faithfully, which is continue to drive use case management. I think that's really important.
We're seeing it work. I think you're spot on. I think we hear that from folks that are like, we've got all this great technology and it seems like we don't need more widgets. We need to figure out how to layer these things together and make them useful. And how do we use them, to your point, when we have all these disparate systems that aren't talking to each other? I think layering those together is important. Albert, love to hear what especially from that security director that knows they've got a bunch of cameras and, how are they using that the best way? What would be a good starting point for somebody that may be unfamiliar with a lot of this technology?
So I really believe like people should start paying attention to the open platforms. Like the closed ecosystem doesn't work anymore. So first of all, you need to look for solutions that like have tons of integrations. Like they have open APIs, platforms. They're very transparent in how they do things, like both from the ethical and the privacy standpoints, but also from the data standpoint, right? So the second like is, do not get married to the vendor. Like I'm a vendor myself, but I always advise it to my customers because like the way we win, we normally consult our customers. We say, find the best use case and then test that company to death. This is very important. Don't trust marketing. Test them and again test them and see how it integrates. And then choose the solution which works best for you, right? It can be the best AI on the market, but it can be expensive. Or it's just an overkill, right? If you're going to install Scylla at the residential environment, that's not the right place to be.
Right.
So you don't install Scylla there. You have like a lot of solutions that work there, right? And I'm a vendor myself, right? So it should be an open platform. It should be well integrated. It should have some connectivity with the OSINT tools. Like it should have open data connectivity, right? Like and you should test it. Don't trust marketing because, to your point, there's a lot of noise in our industry and everybody's saying we're the best. So how do you do this? Like, so you have to test it.
Right.
Great point.
Where are you seeing the best use cases, or where are you seeing this just work fantastically today? Are there certain verticals, certain applications that you're seeing a lot of success with?
I can tell you from the engineering standpoint, so the use cases which are almost 100%, no AI is 100%, but like it's close to that. So intrusion detection is very mature, and we're not talking about residential. We're talking long range, warehouses, airports, seaports. Like gun detection is becoming much more and more mature, right? Mm-hmm. So facial recognition is like oversaturated now. It's very mature. So you have technologies like Scylla and others that are working on drones, like on very high altitudes and long distances. License plate detection is very, very mature. You have some anomaly detections like smoke and fire detection for the fire response. You have, and the reasoning, pretty much like everybody's looking for the reasoning, but we have to be careful there because like some vendors are pretty much not very transparent on what they sell. So they would just connect the roll feed camera to the VLM, which is the vision language model, and say, I can detect everything. No, it doesn't work like this. Like we developed our VLM, it doesn't work like this. So you should feed it events, you should feed it video chunks, you should ask for a reasoning, but you don't trust the VLM or roll detection on a long range camera. So this is like where the industry has to be very, very careful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges we've seen is parking lots, right? And from a detection standpoint, you know, if a property is closed, it's very easy, the mere presence of a person. But we're seeing, you know, catalytic converter thefts, auto burglaries. Parking lots tend to be a pretty hot spot. How are behavioral analytics or these types of things where can the cameras recognize this person's walking in and out, we're not worried about it, this person just went under a car? Is there anything like that you're developing or you're seeing that's working in those scenarios? Shoplifting is another one that I know retail really struggles with.
Yes.
Are you seeing any?
We see traction like definitely on the shoplifting side, right? So people like taking something from the shelf and hiding in a backpack, personal item, and it works very well. Retailers are not very open to this at this point because like majority of the shoplifting, especially in the United States, is happening with the land and grab situation. So you just,
there's not much of a response.
So it's working very well in Europe because like the shoplifting, as I say, is more sophisticated, so people cannot just enter and like grab off the shop. So the catalytic converters like theft is definitely something which has been improved with the vision language models because previously like what we would do, we would detect a human under the car.
Yep.
But like it had a lot of false positives, right? Because it's not a distinct behavior. Now with the reasoning layer, that's where the VLMs are coming into play. So it can pretty much explain like whether that's real theft or not, whether people are loitering, do they behave like suspiciously. So that's definitely a good use case. But again, like depends on the end customer as well, if they are open to technologies like this or not.
Yeah.
You know, Ryan, it's funny you use that as an example. One of my posts, which has been in LinkedIn for a while, is the drone detecting the guy stealing.
Right.
I think it's got like 700,000 impressions.
Wow.
And it's hard for me to see that and think to myself, so why aren't there more drones out there?
Right.
What is an inhibitor to that?
Regulation, uncertainty. I mean, I think there's a lot of that we're seeing from the industry that's kind of watching from afar saying, we know this is a use case, but we're kind of watching and waiting to see. We're scared to dip our toe in the water or put chips on the table with the uncertainty and the complexity there. And that's one of the things that we talk about internally is, you know, this is a new emerging market of whatever the old model is. You know, I talk a lot about the Blockbuster versus Netflix and kind of we're in that transition. And when there's high uncertainty and complexity, it's really tough to plan for. And so we don't really plan beyond 90 days because the game changes that quickly that we're, trying to work through that. On the drone front, one thing that we are seeing and especially interested to hear a little bit more insight on AI detection from a drone standpoint. We just got our Beyond Visual Line of Sight waiver that allows one pilot to multiple drones.
Wow.
That's a different shift in the industry now where it used to be one pilot to one drone.
Right.
What we're finding with the deployment of that is now we don't have one pilot watching the drone, so we need a detection layer there, right? We have multiple drones flying around. You can't rely on the pilot to detect that. We're seeing some really cool things with video analytics, and especially I know you are doing a lot with AI, facial recognition through drones. Tell us a little bit about how you're using your product in conjunction with drones.
Yeah, that's a perfect use case. So we have customers now both on the commercial and the federal side that would, let's say, have issues like protecting vast areas of warehouses or depots, etc. And they would keep maybe up to 5 Skydio dogs, and those dogs each of them have a charging time. So one of the drones will take off and then do the routine patrol, and we would do the detection, and then layer all that in our dashboard on the GIS platform. And then the second one will take off, and then they would cover huge areas which previously you cannot cover with the humans, right? So if you have vast areas, warehouses, logistics, seaports, airports, military bases, those are the perfect examples for the Skydio's DFR program layered with our AI or any other AI on the market.
That's awesome. Additional thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, as you were talking about before, one of the interesting head fakes that I've seen is that you don't naturally think of government agencies being the place where you're going to go to learn about technology, but you've seen firsthand with drones, right. Police departments from California to New York, etc. I think there's a lot of outreach and a wonderful opportunity for our leaders to reach out to their local law enforcement, FBI, etc. You've certainly seen that. You were part of that. You work with people.
Well, it's a great kind of sandbox and learning experience to work with those because we're all with that uncertainty kind of piece. It's and especially we've seen that in the drone community where it's very collaborative and everybody knows this is kind of a new frontier, and there's a lot of sharing of information and things that are, it's an exciting time to see all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, we are going to put some links on how to get in touch with you. We'll put your LinkedIn and everything else in the show notes, and folks can definitely follow along and check that. Each of you are exhibiting at ISC West, so I want to make sure folks that are out there that are interested in learning more or hearing more about it can stop by Trackforce booth 2051.
Correct.
You'll be there. And then Scylla, your booth is 18019.
Exactly. We are with the JCI this year, so if you want to get the showcase of our solutions, test it, as I say, right? Play with it. So you guys are welcome to visit.
Great.
That's great.
We'll put some links and have some product highlights as well. Is there anything that's new on the horizon that you really want to emphasize for the show here? Albert, I'll start with you.
So we are going to announce essentially our vision language model, right? Which provides the reasoning layer, etc. But as with any other VLM on the market, I would encourage the customers again to do the research and not trust the raw video feeds or the full decision-making cycle. It's a great tool. It's definitely the future, but it has limitations, right? So you have to stick to the hybrid approach where you have the traditional computer vision doing the heavy lift, and then the reasoning models pretty much giving your operators the brain and then why they should pretty much click yes or no on the alarm, but definitely not trust it the full decision-making cycle.
Awesome. How about Jeff? What's new on the Trackforce front?
Ryan, we're excited. We have a new leadership team in place, especially on the product side. So they're going to hit the ground running. And James Benham, heading up on the strategy side, will be very active over the next couple of days with large manufacturers. As you know, we have a footprint also in the Fortune 1000 environment. So we're excited to be here. I'm guessing we're going to leave with some potential partnerships, integrations, and more to come.
Awesome. Well, it's a great show. Hope y'all have a great show. 2 industry giants here and thought leaders. I really appreciate you sharing some time with me today. Check out their booth. Check out their LinkedIn. Great conversation. Appreciate it, Jen.
Ryan, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks for your business.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.